Hi, I'm Ryan, and I'd love to tell you about the time one evening changed my life forever. You see, my life pretty much just consists of the same thing day in, day out, endless studying, a part time job after classes, and helping my parents with my younger brother Matt. Matt is only 5 years old, but he's already the craziest, most irritating little boy on the planet. It's kind of a lot to put up with, so I try to avoid going home as much as possible. Even my job has become something like a safe haven for me. After all, it's better than spending time with a noisy little brother. I guess I pretty much take what I can get. Anyway, it all started on a day in September. My first day of junior year, to be exact. I was standing near my locker and talking to my best friend Steve when I saw her. The most gorgeous girl I had ever seen in my life. Her name was Lisa. She was slim and sporty, with a dazzling smile. I think if she'd wanted to, she could have won any beauty contest in the world. I honestly don't think anyone else could have even stood a chance against her. She looked like a goddess. But of course, I didn't say anything. I mean, what was I supposed to do? Asking her out was pointless. She was way out of my league. As pretty and as popular as she was, I didn't stand a chance. I was too shy to even start a conversation or ask for her number. It seemed like I was doomed to admire her from afar for the next 2 years. Joe was Lisa's boyfriend, the most popular jock in school, a future sports star, according to everyone else. And yet, despite his skill when it came to athletics, his real hobby was taking selfies for Instagram and Snapchat. He had thousands of followers and posted things constantly. Everyone knew that even Lisa herself was annoyed by his obsession, which, honestly, made sense. Instead of spending time with her, he was always interacting with his followers and trying to gain more and more fame. So, before I tell you how it all worked out, like the video, hit the subscribe button, and activate the notification bell. If you don't, your crush will fall in love with someone else soon. One day, our science teacher paired Lisa and I up for a project. I shared the great news with Steve, but he wasn't nearly as optimistic. "She's not really interested in you, dude," he sighed. "She has a boyfriend. And besides, literally every guy here is in love with her, just like you. No offense, but you don't really stand a chance." Despite Steve's discouragement, I found that Lisa and I became closer over the next few days at school. To a certain extent, we didn't have a choice. We had to spend time together because of the project. But honestly, we were getting along. I mean, of course I enjoyed being with her, but I was starting to think that maybe she enjoyed spending time with me too. Before long, we really had to buckle down on our project. We went to the library one day after school when I didn't have work, and sat together in the back corner where we could get it done undisturbed. Lisa was so close to me, I could smell her shampoo. For the first 10 minutes or so, my stomach was full of butterflies. It was the first time we had ever really been alone together, and despite the work that needed to get done, that was all I could think about. I could hardly focus on the project at all. After a few minutes, though, I reminded myself that if we didn't get our work done before the library closed, we'd probably fail our project. That meant that Lisa would get a bad grade, and all because of me. She would be so disappointed. I couldn't let that happen. Taking a deep breath, I resolved to put my feelings aside and concentrate on the task at hand. We worked for a few hours. I even managed to focus, despite the fact that our hands would occasionally brush up against one another, and that Lisa kept flashing me that gorgeous smile of hers. Eventually, the project was finished. I was glad that we managed to get it done, but I hated the fact that this meant we didn't need to spend time together anymore. It was with a heavy heart that I packed up my things and followed Lisa to the door. I didn't even notice at first how empty the library had gotten. There was no one else in the room, and the lights were half off. When Lisa tugged on the door handle, it didn't budge. We were locked in. What do we do? Lisa asked, looking worried. I shrugged. I guess we just go sit down again. They'll unlock the doors in the morning. You mean we have to stay here all night? I nodded, trying to think of some way to comfort her. Before I could say anything else, she moved a little closer to me. At least we have each other. It'd be so scary if one of us were alone. We went back to our chairs in the corner and sat even closer together than before. I didn't sleep all night. Instead, Lisa and I talked for hours, and at some point, she fell asleep with her head on my shoulder. I was beginning to doze off as well, when suddenly, we were woken by the sounds of the librarians opening the building for the day. We both glanced up. When I saw Lisa, though, I was frozen. She looked so perfect in the early morning light. For a moment, neither of us rushed to escape. We just looked at each other. My heart was racing, and I couldn't tear my gaze away from her face, still pink, where she had leaned against my shoulder. Lisa looked into my eyes and smiled. I've been waiting for this moment since I met you, she said softly. Then, she kissed me. It was my first kiss ever. My heart was beating so fast, I was sure she must have felt it. Steve was never going to believe how wrong he'd been. When I woke up in my own bed the next day, I saw a message from Lisa on my phone. I broke up with Joe, she said simply. He's such a jerk. I only realized that after I met you, he always treated me like I was nothing and always cared more about his followers than anything else. He made me feel like I was unimportant. It didn't take long for the whole school to start gossiping about the news. No one could believe that the famous couple had split up. As for myself, I was glad that Lisa wasn't with Joe anymore, but I still wasn't sure if I'd get a chance to date her. Joe hadn't only been popular, he was rich too, and her parents had loved him. He was someone from her own circle. And who was I? How did I fit in here? Would Lisa ever really give me a chance? At that point, I didn't know how things would work out, but I was happy with the way things were. We started messaging each other every day. We realized we both felt the same deep connection, and before long, we started seeing each other. Let me know in the comments if you've ever kissed your crush after months of waiting.